All right, here we go, guys. Take two. Well, Freak Nation, how you doing on a Freaks Friday? We've completely blown off our picks today, haven't we?
Last weekend was exhausting.
It really was,
so
wasn't
we're taking time out this weekend. We just hope that, I don't know what we hope. You just hope your Rams win, Richie.
My strategy last week was terrible. The underdogs did not do well.
Yeah, how did we end up on our picks last week, Rich?
Not great. I don't think not great. Okay. Yeah. I think Kenny probably did the best because he took mostly favorites. I took mostly dogs.
Right.
All right.
I think Crasher probably won. Hey, look, man, coming up in about 15 minutes, Jake Arians, Bruce Arians' son. Jake Arians is the president of the Arians Family Foundation. Actually played in the National Football League at one time as a kicker. Has incredible insight to the National Football League, specifically with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He needs some fantasy football conversation, a conversation starter. That's the guy to talk to when there is fantasy football going on. Anyway, he'll be joining us in about 15 minutes as the Bucs get set to take on Richie's Los Angeles Colts. Don't call me Rams.
I'm excited. It's going to be a great game. I found my spot. I found my spot to go to. It worked out really well on Monday night, so I'm going to go back to the same spot, watch the game from there. It's going to be great.
Bam.
Same underwear, same pants, same drink in hand.
Yep.
Why not?
Same jersey.
Seat, same everything. Yes.
I'm going to wear my Mark Bulge jersey again, which brought me luck. So,
Don't jack with the mojo. So good.
Mm-hmm.
Freak Nation, we lost a hell of a man this morning. It was the first thing I woke up to at my freaking 4:30 circadian rhythm. Bam. Number one trend on Twitter was Meat Loaf passing away. And a couple of things that I have in common with this guy. One is he grew up in Farmers Branch, which is next door to Carrollton, Texas, both suburbs of Dallas, Texas. The other thing we have in common is we both frequented the same Dairy Queen.
Serious? Oh, my gosh.
Granted, he's about 15 years older than me. I had no idea who this guy was at the time. I mean, when I was in high school, this guy was already in Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, okay.
All right. But I spent time with him in 1994, of all places, at the Tokyo Harley Davidson. I was over in Japan for 6 months and hosted a show called Axewave, where we featured no domestic musicians, no musicians from Japan. They were all foreigners. I lived in Japan for 6 months, but I felt like I spent more time in Europe and the UK and America than I did in Japan. And the way the Japanese promote, it's the way the Japanese promote music, especially American music or English music, is much different than how we did it, at least at the time, where it's as if the musicians are even more forthcoming because they realize the importance of the Japanese audience. You know, some musicians, again, this is me speaking back in 1994. I found that whether it was Daryl Hall or Nancy and Ann Wilson of Heart, Brian May of Queen, I felt that they were overly friendly. Maybe it was the case of, hey, look, I've got a freaking gaijin, a white guy here in a Japanese studio talking to me. I feel a little more comfortable now, and I'm going to understand what he says unless I get past that freaking southern accent of his happy ass.
So you're saying the rock stars seemed more friendly than you expected?
Crasher, I spent 2 days with Phil Collins on the farm where he and Genesis would record. Kidding me? What if I said, hey, man, it's Phil Collins. Hey, what's up, Phil? It's Kenny Sargent from Phoenix, Arizona. Can I come hang out, promote your new record?
Hey, come on by. Farm's open.
Although Rob Halford, he'll hang.
Yeah. It's interesting, though. You did that, more personality-based interviews in the 90s, and now that's what everybody does around the world. So, yeah, you were ahead of your time, Ken.
Richie, you were probably 2 years old when I did that interview.
With Meat Loaf?
Yeah, in 94, right?
Yeah, 3.
Okay.
I was 3.
Your mom and dad have any Meat Loaf albums?
That's a great question. You know, I don't. They probably do.
Well, hold on a second. Which Ted Nugent album do they have? Because he sang for Ted Nugent.
It was Cat Scratch Fever.
No, I believe it was Free for All.
Is the album? Well, that's the album that of Ted Nugent.
Yeah, with his face like this.
Yeah.
That's Cat Scratch. No, that wasn't the album that Meat Loaf sang on, but he sang on. I believe it was the Free for All album where he sang on 5 or 6 songs.
Wow, didn't know that.
What's your memory of Meat Loaf, Richie? Quick, before we get into this interview.
I don't have that many. I know he was in a lot of TV shows and movies. I saw Tenacious D put out a little video of a clip from him and their movie Pick of Destiny, where he like sang at the very beginning of the movie. I know I'd Do Anything for Love. I know that.
What about Fight Club?
I've never seen it.
Fight
Club. I think Fight Club is the one that I saw, at least among people on my Twitter feed who were, around my age. That's the one that everybody went to. Right. And they were all making references to it. And I was like, what are they talking about? I was like, oh, okay. Fight Club. So for most people in my generation, that's their go-to if they've actually seen the movie, unlike myself.
Remember, he was on Apprentice.
Oh my gosh!
Him and D Tizzle.
Yeah, didn't he and Gary Busey get after each other?
Oh wow! I saw that season, but I don't remember much of that season. So yeah, wow. I had forgotten about that until you just said that.
Crasher, what about you? Your memories of
it? Well, it's got to be high school. You get your license. You're driving. Friends in the car. Windows rolled down. A spring day. The sun's up. Whoa, it's cold and lonely in a deep dark night.
Dang.
And you're just hitting the steering wheel and hitting the front dash and just jamming. That wasn't much of a jam right there, but I'm a little stuffed up, so I was trying to make it sound halfway presentable.
I'll put it down.
Yeah, I love those songs. Jamming in the car. Love those songs.
Evanescence, Adele, Celine Dion.
Oh yeah, I liked that tribute that you did.
Imagine Dragons. All of these groups owe it to Meat Loaf and Jim Steinman and freaking Todd Rundgren, who produced that record, that Bat Out of Hell record. Owe a lot to these guys. Meat Loaf passing away today at the age of 74.
And we don't know yet if it was COVID. There's speculation.
Speculating. So let's do this, Freak Nation. There's 50 minutes of this, but I'm not going to bore you with that. But here's some highlights of my
50.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. 1994. Yours truly, and Meat Loaf.
Name just because I was big. Because I mean, I weigh less now than I did when I was 12 years old.
My goodness. Well, Dairy Queen was down the street from you.
Yeah, that's probably true. See what I'm saying? That goes back to that bad Texas food again. My wife says my name is a double-edged sword. That people remember it, but also sometimes people don't take me very seriously about what I do, and I'm not.
But you don't take life serious.
Well, no, I don't. I take my work seriously. Okay. I don't take myself serious. Right. I don't think that I'm better than this person out there, and I don't play the fame game. So that I don't do. Right. But when it comes time to when those people have bought those tickets, that's important.
There you go.
That's important, and when the people buy the records, because that's they've spent their money on that. So that's important. So then it becomes serious.
Yes, it does.
But as far as being famous and telling people you can't look at me or playing that and all the, bodyguards. And,
Yeah, that's not your game.
No. And so, no, I don't like that. I don't like that game.
Well, New York. Well, was L.A. or New York where you got the gig with Rocky Horror Picture Show?
Oh, in New York. Yeah, I got it. Well, I did it in L.A., but I'd actually finished the play. I was at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., and I had been doing a play there for 6 weeks. And this is true, I literally walked in to my apartment back in New York. I've been gone for 6 weeks. Put my bag down right at the front. You walk in, you put your bag down, you look around, you check your mail and do things like that. And as I was like heading for the mail or whatever, the phone rang. And it was a fellow by the name of Brian Avnet. And he said, "Is this Meat Loaf?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "I work for Lou Adler." And I went, "I know that name, Lou Adler. Lou, what has he done, Lou Adler?" And he proceeded to tell me he owns half of Los Angeles, and he produced the Mamas and Papas and Cheech and Chong and Jan and Dean, and is like the major record producer at the time.
Right.
And I said, "Oh yeah, I knew that name." And they said to me, "We're doing this play called the Rocky Horror Show, and we'd like for you to do it." And at that point in time, I really hadn't got to the point where I'd go, "Well, let me read the script or see what this is or anything." It was like another job. So okay, you take it. And so I said, "Well, okay, that sounds fun. What do I do?" And they go, "Well, you play 2 parts." And I did ask them, "What do I do?" They say, "You play this rock and roll guy who comes out of a Coca-Cola box." And I said, "Oh, that sounds fun." And then they said, it's a double role. You play his uncle." And I said, "Yeah, okay, cool." I didn't ask them what the play was about or anything. And so then they said, "Well, we'd like for you to come out to L.A." And I said, "Okay." And they said, "When can you come?" And I said, "I'm packed. Let's go now." And I literally, about 2 hours later, was on the plane to L.A. There's a side story to this. Chevy Chase had broken up with his girlfriend, and was actually living in a Volkswagen, in a little Volkswagen Beetle. And a friend of mine called right after that, and I was talking to her, and I said, "Oh, I'm getting ready." She goes, "Oh, boy, you're back. You want to come down?" I said, "Oh, I'm going to L.A." And she goes, "Well, you just got here." I said, "I know, but I just got a phone call to go to work." And that's how I worked in New York. I mean, I literally was never out of work in New York as an actor for longer than about at the time it took me to fly from Washington.
Not too many people can say that.
No. And so at that point in time, she goes, "Well, how long you be in L.A.?" And I said, "I don't know. I didn't ask that." And they go, "Well, Chevy broke with his girlfriend. He's got no place to live. Can he?" And I said, "Yeah, tell him he can live in my apartment." So for 9 months, Chevy Chase lived in my apartment and ran up an enormous phone bill.
Well,
so he owes me $1,100. Yeah, he owes me $1,100.
Well, I want to know about the meeting, your initial meeting with Tim Curry.
Oh, well, that was funny. Well, it wasn't a meeting. I'm sitting here. We'd been rehearsing the music, and everything was fine. I mean, the song just, it was a typical one of those kind of rock musical. The words were a little quirkier, than normal, but we hadn't heard any of Tim's songs. We'd only heard like Hot Patootie and the songs, when Eddie had his Teddy and the whatever the songs were, and There's a Light and that kind of stuff, which was kind of a little quirkier, but it was those.
Right.
I mean, I was doing a lot of those silly rock musicals that were going on off Broadway, and the Kennedy Center had been one about Buddha. And that's what I'd played Buddha.
Okay, I can see that.
And so it was weird. It was kind of, I was doing all this avant-garde stuff and all this. So anyway, we'd been rehearsing about 6 days, and they said, "Tomorrow Tim Curry's coming in." We were rehearsing this little theater, and he came in from the top of the theater, singing "I'm a Sweet Transvestite," wearing big platform shoes.
He had his outfit on.
Oh,
right?
He had his outfit with a he had his outfit on. I lost it. I mean, I'm going, no. And we looked at each other, and we just got up and walked out. I mean, I literally just walked out. I said, I don't know what I'm in. I'm going, this is L.A. This is weird. I've always heard this place was really weird, but this is really strange.
Right.
And then we left, and we decided that, well, we better go back and check this out and tell him we can't do it. So we went back to tell him that, and we got the sense that it really wasn't about that. It wasn't like being in drag. It was. It took us a while because all we had done so far was learn the music, and then we hadn't seen the script, and there was a reason because they knew that this was they probably had a lot of problems. Going to have a problem casting this part if everybody knew that they had to dress up in fishnet stockings. But eventually I did, and it was I weighed 50, 60 pounds more than I do now, and I wore a garter belt and fishnet stockings and high heels, and came out from underneath this this blanket that was in a wheelchair, and I'll tell you what, it had to be the biggest laugh of any show you've ever seen in your life. The people would the cast, Tim Curry, and he's really a great actor, he'd laugh 2 out of every 4 times because the audience would just it was the biggest laugh I've ever heard in my life, and it was well worth it for that. That's my greatest, fondest memory of.
Could you see you walking into Love Field or somewhere in Texas?
Oh yeah, forget it. Yeah, no, you couldn't. No, Texas, forget it.
I got a couple of hogs out front warming up. What do you say we mount those babies and terrorize Tokyo?
Okay, can I wear my?
You can wear your yukata and.
Yukata.
And I'm gonna wear my leather straps.
Okay, you wear that.
Is this cool?
But I do like those.
Like
you can
those
tell me
straps?
about those later.
Let's go.
Okay, guys, we're out of here. We'll see you on the road.
Hey, hold
Where we
on.
going?
Osaka, Nagoya, Tokyo. I'm Kenny Sargent. You know this guy.
I'm Meat Loaf. That's right.
And
Be cool. Thank you very much. I'll
so-
see you soon, y'all.
this-
Don't go away. I'll be back. You understand? I'll be back. Kenny, let's go now, son.
We'll see you.
Oh, yeah. Vintage, baby.
Wow. Yeah, you spent a lot of time with him in that interview. Did you spend a lot of time with him away from the interview? Because he seemed like a good person.
The interview was like being away from the guy. I mean, being away from the camera. What you see on cameras, that's me. That's him. Like I said, there's 50 minutes of that stuff with us hanging out in that Tokyo Harley Davidson.
What'd you say at the end there? Was mount these boys.
And if you notice at the end, oh man, I don't know how to do this, but the Japanese producers wanted some kind of shtick. First of all, they wanted cowboy boots in every freaking interview I did, and they wanted something for that. When I signed off a show or an interview, they always wanted me to do something specific, and we came up with.
Do you still have that Harley Davidson jacket? That thing was pretty sweet.
It's dope, but no, I don't. That had to stay with the shop.
Oh,
I didn't get to keep a lot of my cool attire from Japan. It would rock today. Hey, man, Jake Arians, Tampa Bay Bucs.
Football.
Insider, because, yeah, again, Bruce Arians' son. He's president of Bruce Arians, the Arians Family Foundation. Man, he's got some insight to what we're going to be seeing. Well, what we hope to see.
Please don't ask him about the fine.
I got to ask him about the $50,000. I'm curious if that's going to take away from his Christmas gift next year.
Okay,
this
just
year.
get it done. All
right.
Whatever.
Jake Arians, friend of the Freak Nation, coming up next.
When that special feeling comes, say it with body and soul. Presenting Body and Soul, 24 sensual classics. You'll hear your favorite artists like Luther Vandross, Freddie Jackson, get Body and Soul on 2 CDs or 2 cassettes. Call now to get body and soul.
Water, Body and Soul. Call 1-800-449-2100. That's 1-800-449-2100.
We'll get back to the video interview in just a moment, but with high gas prices holding steady, it might be time for you to check out Lucas Oil Fuel Treatment and Injector Cleaner. It increases power, fuel mileage. It's formulated for both gasoline and diesel engines, carbureted, of course, fuel injected. Are you kidding me? It's like a tune-up in a bottle. Just add it to every fill-up of that snappy car of yours. And of course, it's as simple as... You get it. Now, back to the interview. All right, here we go, guys. Take two. Freak Nation, not too many of these football Fridays left in the Freak Nation. Got us a big weekend coming up for some more playoff. It's not super wild card playoff weekend.
You got to admit that was fun, though.
It was. It's cool. I've got Jake Arians' Chiron already up there. Might as well go ahead and bring his happy ass in. Put him up there.
Switcheroo.
So what happened? Did you just not... You've been hung over for a few days. Said, I'm going to stay in Tampa?
Yeah, just said, hell, we're playing at home again, Richie. Instead of at week 18 flip, baby, we got it in Tampa. We don't have to go to LA. This is awesome. I just stayed down here.
Well, let me see. Richie has no Rams gear on.
Surprised at
so
that.
Get that.
I'm an unbiased radio host. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Can't play favorites.
Okay.
Can't believe Jake Arians has Roger Staubach goat T-shirt. Oh, that's a red. That's a red goat. Damn it, it's a red goat. Dang it! Isn't that funny, Josh? Again, I'm older than you, but we used to when we would talk to our friends, they would say, "Hey, what's your phone number? What number should I call?" We would use football players' numbers as the phone number. I can't remember a football player's number for the life of me today, but damn it, in my teens and 20s, I can tell you everybody from Larry Cole to Emmitt Smith to Roger Staubach to Golden Richards.
Every PIN number I've ever had, every phone number I've ever tried to remember was like, in the Pittsburgh days, it was like, Hines Ward and Reggie Wayne in Pittsburgh and Indy. And you're like, okay, you got 86, 88, you're good to go. You remember all of them. But right. Yeah, there's definitely the way I've done it my entire life.
All right, let's get this out of the way. Is your Christmas gift still taken care of, given Bruce Arians' fine over last game?
Yeah, I think we're still okay.
You're right.
I think we're okay. We'll see what happens.
Wow.
Yeah, I know they put it out there, but it is what it is. He's not changing. You guys know that.
Yeah.
Right.
And on that note, Richie brought this up, and Richie, I'm going to steal your thunder here.
Go ahead.
Okay. Richie said this. He didn't ask the question. Well, he kind of did. He said, imagine what Bruce Arians would have been able to do with Kyler Murray, both as an influencer, a mentor, and a dude that could put Kyler in his place when he needed to be put in his place. What do you say about that, Jake Arians?
First, I'd say they did a pretty damn good job offensively. I mean, you lose D-Hop, it hurt what they wanted to do. And he does so much ad-lib stuff. I think on the field, I don't think it's as big a deal as the stuff you're talking about, the influencing when you have a track record with Peyton Manning and Ben Roethlisberger and Carson Palmer, Andrew Luck, and Tom Brady, and Jameis Winston leading the league. I mean, it would be – you follow along with those guys, and there's already a respect factor there built into my ego is not. I'm not touching those guys, right? I mean, no matter how good he does, he'll never be Larry Fitzgerald in Arizona. He needs to understand that a little bit. I think they needed to check that a little bit more in the last couple of years. And I think when you're playing for a guy like BA with that track record, a bunch of rings already in the closet, there's a little bit more than a new head coach and Cliff. I think they get along great. I really think Cliff did a hell of a job. I mean, they got some injuries on offense that really hurt that. And Kyler didn't play his best football down the stretch. But, I mean, we're talking about what kind of influence he would be if he had a season and an offseason with him. I think it'd be a fun matchup to watch. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can do with that kid.
It's interesting you say Kyler himself did not play his best football down the stretch. That is one way of looking at it. the fan base wants to look at it as Cliff Kingsbury did not do his best down the stretch. Oh, wait, that's his track record for the last 9 years, going back through to college as well. So, yeah, all teams can have collapses, but there's a pattern here that is disturbing. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's hard to argue, right? I mean, you go back to the Texas Tech days, there was a little bit of a collapse. Kyler's now 5-11 in December the last 2 years, December and January. I mean, it's definitely something that's hard to argue. What it is, how do you put your finger on it? I'm not real sure. Does he run down a little bit late in the year? I mean, they had some injuries, but everybody's got injuries at this point. I mean, Tampa's down to guys you've never heard of on the practice squad stepping up that ran track in college and then played football. They're catching touchdowns from Tom Brady. You overcome that stuff. The standard is the standard. The next man up is the next man up. You didn't really get that from them, even though they had some of those injuries. Now, D-Hop is impossible to replace, but can you get some production there from somebody? It's kind of hard to argue because it happened 2 years in a row. I mean, 6-0 last year, kind of go in the tank. 10-2 this year, you lose 5 out of 7 to finish the year, and you don't show up in the playoff game. I mean, it's kind of hard to argue, but you still go. When you took over a 2 or 3 win team, went 5-1-8, 1-11. You're building. I warned you guys early in the year if they get a couple of the wrong injuries.
Yeah,
I didn't know the way Kyler played the first 7 weeks if it's sustainable for an 18-week season. It was fun to watch. The kid's gotten better. Remember we talked the first time I was on about checks at the line of scrimmage, changing the play, spending more time in the film room with the coaches. He did a hell of a lot better this year than he did last year at that. How does that change next year when you've won 5, 8, and now 11 games? Yes, it wasn't pretty, and yes, they folded down the stretch, but they're still building in the right direction. They just went old and young on the team. A couple of those old guys that you were counting on got hurt, and there weren't a lot of those 5, 6, 7-year vets to really step in and be pros. I think that hurt them.
I like how you reference next man up because, I remember that. I miss that mentality here in the desert. But you do have first man coming back up. Leonard Fournette could be back this weekend. What say you? He's not that he's necessary when Tom Brady throws 78% of his passes are caught. I mean, come on.
The Rams aren't the Eagles, first of all. But, yeah, playoff Lenny, Lombardi Lenny, whatever damn nickname we're going with Lenny at this point, we're glad to have him back. But Gio and Keyshawn Vaughn filled in great last week. They really did. Gio was awesome to have back. And I think Gio has earned to be able to spell Lenny a little bit. You don't know. I mean, Lenny's going to be in great shape, but he's coming back, and you don't want to overdo it. It's not one of those weeks you want to give him 30 carries and 6 touches. It's a playoff game. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes. But coming off 3 weeks with a hamstring injury and the way Gio played last week, you want to be able to spell that a little bit. They're different kind of guys. So I think it's going to be huge having both. And then Keyshawn Vaughn was awesome. So it's amazing that next man up mentality when Keyshawn Vaughn's a special teams player and your third back because Rojo hasn't played in a couple weeks. So that's that next man up. You win a playoff game with Giovanni Bernard, his first year in the system, and Keyshawn Vaughn is a third-round pick from a couple years ago that barely played, and they both played great.
All right, Jake, let's dive right into it. You got, of course, the Rams, my Rams, on the road taking on the Buccaneers.
What happened to the unbiased
You're
radio?
right.
It's my Rams already.
Oops. Scratch that. We can take that out in post. All right, we can take that out in post. Rams are going to play Tampa Bay. Here's my question. The Rams have beaten the Buccaneers the last 2 seasons in the regular season, right? And you and I were talking about this the last time you were on about how much healthier the Buccaneers have gotten on defense and how scary they've become in the back half of the season and here into the playoffs. What's changed? What's been the biggest change for the Buccaneers since they lost the Rams back in week 3? That was 4 months ago, for goodness sake.
I know it's like it's a season ago. First of all, we had no secondary in that game. Gronk goes out early. We're on the road, and the Rams came out hot. That was their Super Bowl. That was one of the first things you win the Super Bowl and you're the hunted. That was one of the first games they were the hunted. The Rams were like, we're all in. We're the team to beat this year. We're going to kick your ass early, and we're going to show you. They came out like that. 34-24 in the end, but that secondary was really banged up. So the Rams are running it more now. They've added OBJ. They've added Von Miller, but the entire secondary is banged up. The game comes down to the Tristan Wirfs play at right tackle. Jensen's at practice today. You're going to have to shoot that guy in the leg 8 times to get him not to play. Can they protect that Rams defensive line to give Tom enough time? Tom doesn't need a lot of time. He's fastest in the league right now getting rid of the ball. And can they sustain drives and run it a little bit? Keep Matt Stafford off the field, and can the Bucs do what the Bucs do defensively? Stop the run. Stafford couldn't turn it over. Our DBs have dropped 3 interceptions last Sunday, and they've been dropping a bunch the last couple of weeks. Can we get those turnovers? To me, they're completely different teams than they were then. And the one thing that you don't want to be if you're the Rams is playing Tom Brady again after beating him in the regular season. That's the thing.
Revenge.
Yeah, I think the stat is Tom Brady's record in divisional round is ridiculous. I don't think I think he's lost twice.
14,
if I'm not
14
mistaken.
and 2, I think.
Yeah. Do you know
By the
what
way,
Matthew
we're
Stafford's
not
record in the
winning
divisional
anybody
round